Hey, what's going on, guys? That Red Nismo here, back with another video. Today I'm going to be showing y'all how to change the crank pulley seal on a 2000 to 2006 Honda Insight. I decided to get this done because it's been leaking for a while, but I already drained my oil, and I think you might have to do that while basically taking the seal out. So I figured I'm just going to do two birds, one stone. First thing you're going to do is to remove the wheel, and I'm going to get that done, and then I'll go from there. So once you have the wheel removed, normally there is a little panel right here. There'll be just 3 clips that hold that in, along with some clips that hold it to the undershroud of the car. But like I said, this bolt right there is what you're gonna have to take out. The crank pulley seal is behind that. And of course, the pulley itself goes around this. And what we're gonna need to do is get a bolt in there onto the tensioner to loosen it so that we can take the belt off, and then from there we'll remove the large crank pulley bolt. So there are 2 bolts you got to pay attention to. That one right there on the center of the screen, that adjusts the amount of tension that's on the belt, and the bolt right there, right in the center, is what you remove, or what you loosen to go ahead and remove the tension, or remove this belt. So to give y'all a clearer explanation of that last clip, obviously the daily driver's right over there. This is my parts car. Down here is the first bolt I showed. This controls the tension, or amount of tension on the belt. And so I'm back. This is now, I think, 2 or 3 days after the last clip. I tried every darn thing I could think of to get that crank pulley bolt out, and the last thing I was gonna try was a weighted impact socket. It's just a thick socket. I don't know why it works, but I did it off camera on the red daily driver just now. It popped out in half a second. So I'm gonna try that here. I'm gonna get this on video for you. I have no idea why this thing is on so tight, but I'll show you all the process of me getting this one off right now. Right now I have the wheel turned all the way to the right because it's still on the car, but I was just able to fit the socket on there with the impact, and fully seated right now, so I'm gonna try and break this loose. So 3, 2, 1. Came right out. So weighted socket is the way to go. So since this is the parts car, I don't actually know if this was leaking from this, but as you can tell, kind of looks like it was. It's either that or it's just really grimy. But this is one of the seals we're gonna have to change out right here, as well as another O-ring. So I'm gonna get that popped out, and make sure you don't scar the mating surface of the block, because obviously if you do, then when you put the new one in, it's still gonna leak. So I'm gonna go get some pry tools out and see what I can do to get this one. So right here, the reason I'm doing this on my parts car first is because I want to have an idea of what I'm doing when I attempt it on my daily driver. I had a really hard time getting this old seal out without marring the block. Like I said in the last clip, you don't wanna do that. But this thing is really tough to get out. My main concern is how tough this stuff is on the back. You can see I put some scratches in it with my pry tools. It doesn't seem to be too bad, but I was concerned about that. This is, kind of had to get in there pretty rough in order to get this out. That's the original spring, as you can see right there. That is what can be found. It's that silver, if it'll focus. It's the silver band you're seeing on screen right now on the inner section. So I had a pretty rough time getting this main pilot bearing, I don't even know what you call it. I had a hard time getting this out because once again, you don't want to mar and scar the surface. So what I ended up doing was getting a big zip tie, and I used a bunch of pry tools to basically wedge it out from the block. I got a zip tie on the back of it and squeezed it in there enough to get it basically to where I could yank it as you can see, just like that. Kept rotating it. You should have, I think, a set of little pliers that can fit in those holes. But it is weird. I don't know if I'll get it on camera, but the holes do have threads in them. I don't know if you're supposed to, I don't know if there's a special tool you're supposed to thread in there to get it out. I don't know. I don't have it regardless. This is what I used along with a bunch of these pry tools to get it out. Another common issue is that, as you can see here, that little silver line, this one doesn't seem too bad. I actually can't even feel the line, but I've been told that the bearing getting scored on that line can also cause the crank pulley seal to leak. I guess. And then the O-ring we're talking about is maybe, oh, that's the O-ring they're talking about. So you're gonna have to get this piece out. All right, guys, so I just got the old crank pulley seal removed. Honestly, I'm not quite sure where this was leaking from. I don't see any obvious tears on it, but what I used was this right here to kind of get in there and dig and pry it out. Make sure, as I said earlier, make sure to not pry or mar the original mating surface. But right now what I'm gonna do is spray some brake cleaner in there. So I can see I did mar it a little tiny bit, but I don't think that's gonna be significant enough. But I might sand that a little bit just to get over it, or just to kind of smooth it out. I don't think it'll be an issue, but I'd rather not find out the hard way. And the next thing for changing the O-ring, what we're gonna have to do is remove this outer seal, the big silver circle. What I'm gonna do is get some pliers and put one end in there in each side to kind of wiggle it out. That's how I did it on the parts car, and this is what I'm gonna continue to do here. All right, guys, so I had a bit of a hard time once you get the crank pulley seal out. Unfortunately, I did slightly scar the block. I'll show y'all what I do to fix that afterwards. But as far as getting this O-ring out, the metal circle here, because you got to change the O-ring on the inside, I was nervous about scarring the block even more. So what I did is I got a big zip tie and I put it, it's basically come loose right now, but there's not enough space in there to really get a tool behind there and pry this off. So I tightened the zip tie around this enough to where it kind of got underneath the little seal back there, and I spun it a little bit, and eventually I can, yep, there we go, and eventually it just popped right off. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is carefully get that O-ring out inside there, re-lube the new one that I'll be installing, and go ahead and reinstall everything, and then retorque it, as well as retension the belt. So as a solution to try and fix the small amount of pitting I have on the crank pulley seal, as you can see right there, it really isn't that much, but I don't want to worry about that. So what I'm going to do is use JB Weld Extreme Heat just to plug that up. Before I do that, you're supposed to prep it with 80 grit sandpaper. I don't have that. I only have 400 grit. That's the smallest I have, or that's the roughest I have. So I'm just going to sand it a little more than probably need to, shall we say. You don't want to do it too much, because if you do it too much, it could create an uneven seal. But I'm going to get that put on, put the epoxy on, and then clean the excess so that the epoxy only fills those little scars. All right, guys, so here we are a couple weeks later. I have not driven my Insight in 3 months. I can't really believe that. It's kind of a reality check, like, look, you gotta get shit done, otherwise time flies. With that said, so I have my two crank pulley, honestly, I don't even know what you'd call these. I really don't know what you would call these, but these are one of the other things that can cause leaks, is this gets scored. You can kind of see through enough use, that little line right there, these can wear down enough to where oil seeps through this little section, the little shiny part there. There we go, finally focused. So that should not be there. As you can see, on this one. This one came out of a 100,000-mile car, that little line there, and this one came out of my 250,000-mile one. In person, I can see this line's a little more prominent. So what I'm gonna do is, this part is discontinued from Honda, so I can't just put a new one in there. But whether I'm gonna use the old one or the new one, what we'll have to do is swap the old O-ring out of there, and this will be the part number for the new O-ring. This is usually, if you fix this crank pulley seal and don't do the O-ring, that is why you're still leaking oil. But be very careful to not mar the inside of this. I'm going to be using these little pry tools to get that out without scratching this. All right, guys, so as you saw in that last video, what I did is went ahead and cleaned out the center inside of the ring. I know it's not going to come across too well on camera, but I did what I could. I stuck a paper towel in there to get that out. So that's all cleaned up. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and wipe this off one more time and then get some oil. I'm using 0W20 and grease the O-ring before I install it in there. Like I said, be very careful. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start reassembling everything, and then I will put the belt on and I will have to retension that. So it should be noted that when you reinstall the crank seal, what you're gonna do, as you see on screen, I'm putting the seal in first, and then you attach the silver circle collar that has the smaller O-ring in it. You have to do it in that order or they could push each other out of orientation. Alright guys, so ignore this little filler clip right here. Take a close look at the idler pulley in the next clip. I was so focused on filming that I didn't realize that I put the idler pulley on backwards. I had to have it flipped. And as you can see in the following clips, I'll probably include the bloopers at the end. Stuff started smoking as soon as I turned it on, and I messed up. But follow all the other instructions except route your pulley correctly. All right, guys, so I didn't do a ton of recording during the reinstallation of everything, obviously, because you're just going to do it backwards. But I did have a bit of trouble getting this belt on along with the pulley. And what I ended up doing was feeding in the bolt that goes this way, which has the 8mm head, into the little piece it needs to screw into, which tightens everything. And then I managed to squeeze the pulley on. It was kind of a pain, but I have included a video from another guy who's done this install. I've linked that in the description below. But what we're gonna go ahead and do now is finish tightening the belt down a little bit more, because this is still a little bit loose, or too loose, shall we say. And so, like I said, we're going to tension the bolt a bit more, and then we're going to go ahead and do a belt measurement test to see how tight it is. All right, guys, so that is it for the crank pulley seal. Theoretically, this is torqued to 14, yes, you heard that right, 14 foot-pounds, and then you do another 90-degree turn, but I had already reinstalled it by the time I kind of read that online. This is reading from the G1 Insight forum. So I don't know if that's correct. I'm gonna assume it is, but I just tightened mine on because I hope I don't have to do this again. I used my impact for it. The bolt right there, that is torqued to 22 foot-pounds. I put a little bit of Loctite on it just because I don't have to worry about this again. But I'm not certain if that's a big deal or not, or if it's required, I mean. But of course, before you go ahead and start the car, make sure the belt is fully seated, which mine is. I went ahead and topped off the oil since I did an oil change, and I tightened the belt to about 90 foot-pounds, which is another confusing thing because in the video I linked in the description of the only other Serpentine belt tutorial on YouTube, the guy says he tightened it to about like 80 foot-pounds, but the Honda service manual says it's close to 200 foot-pounds, which is an enormous discrepancy. So I put mine to 90 because I didn't want to risk over-tensioning it, and if it worked for him for, he said 9 months at 90 foot-pounds, then I'm gonna assume it's gonna work for me. I will update the description if I have any more info for that. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and start the car. This will be the first start in 3 months. So I'm gonna hope this goes well. All right, guys, so it is now June 2024. About 4 months since I started recording this video. Time flies. This was kind of a reality check. Like, you either got to get this shit done or you blink, and here we are 4 months later. But, so you haven't seen it because I cut it out of the video. I was so focused on filming that I accidentally put the pulley on backwards a couple weeks ago. So now we're gonna do the second first start. I'll include the bloopers at the end of this video, but that was stupid of me. And I just put the belt tensioner on. I tightened it to about 90 foot-pounds. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started up, hopefully smoothly this time around. So we shall see. Well, 3 months later, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you did enjoy today's video. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I respond to every single comment. Additionally, I know this video is not going to get many views. Insight people, we kind of don't really exist anymore. But if you do want to help support the channel, I have links to my Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal in the description below. And I do have a full restoration series of this car in my playlist section on my YouTube channel. When I got it, this thing was clapped out. Just disgusting. Obviously, I got the car gutted right now. But I did a full detail series, pulled the entire interior, seats out, carpet out, whoop, door panels out, the entire trunk, as you can tell. The car looks brand new. So if you do want to take a look at that, I have that in my YouTube as well. Once again, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all the support lately, and I look forward to hearing from y'all soon. See ya. All right, guys, so here we go. I am messing around with the IMA battery stuff in the back, so I hope that has not affected anything. That was an interesting startup. What the fuck is smoking, yo? What the fuck? Just a little bit stressed at the moment, because last time this didn't go too well. The fuck? excuse the language, I don't know if you guys saw that. Battery just shot a fat spark. And I do not know why. So far, so good, it looks like. I don't know why the hell that happened. I don't know what this lady's doing. So here we are. So I don't gas myself out, let's get this shop opened up. Ugh. She's running. No way. No IMA light, and I didn't start this thing for 3 months. I am gonna grid charge it. Got my hybrid revolt in the back, but I'm gonna let it idle for a little bit, just to make sure everything's going well. The reasoning, like I told you guys earlier, that we have to put the larger spacer on the back of the AC idler pulley is because the spacer is what ensures, you can see the spacer right there, that's what ensures that the idler pulley does not rub against this bracket. But that should be it. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine, yeah. Definitely. Well, this fucking sucks. Me when the brakes fail. That's crazy. Awesome. Wait a minute, it's the AC. Right. Just a fucking AC. Damn. Ah. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill myself. What the fuck, dude? There goes my brakes. I almost crashed this bitch.